secondo creatore. Guardate una cosa importante questa, il modello del dualismo, il duale, la coscienza, che è il vero e proprio Dio, crea l'universo e lo crea per fare esperienza. L'esperienza che deve fare la coscienza, che è eterna, è un'esperienza sola, l'esperienza della morte. L'unica cosa che la coscienza non può fare, cosa si prova a finire? E allora per fare questo crea l'universo con lo spazio, il tempo e l'energia e crea il dualismo. Perché? Perché nel dualismo, nel duale, nell'acceso spento, nel pieno, nel vuoto, nel bello, nel brutto, nel buono, nel cattivo, c'è la scelta. Se ci fosse solo il buono, non potresti scegliere, non potresti decidere che tipo di esperienza fare. Noi facciamo una vita e dopo questa vita l'anima, che è immortale dentro, assiste e guarda cosa succede quando il corpo muore. Tu morirai in miliardi di modi differenti e la parte animica porterà questo contributo di coscienza nella sua coscienza primordiale, nella pistis sophia, direbbero gli esoteristi più attenti, cioè nell'anima cosciente, nella coscienza animica, nella parte femminile dell'universo. Poi questo è importante perché quando noi abbiamo scoperto questo, abbiamo scoperto l'inganno dell'universo. L'inganno è il dualismo. Guardate, non esiste il dualismo è quell'aspetto che l'universo ci manifesta attraverso soprattutto il ragionamento dell'emisfero sinistro. Vedete, qui c'è un asse, una matita che può girare in senso orario o in senso antiorario. E allora uno può pensare, vedi che esiste il dualismo. No, non esiste, è finto, guarda. Voi lo vedete girare in senso orario. Vi posso assicurare che dal mio punto di vista gira in senso antiorario. Quindi non esiste girare in un modo o nell'altro, esiste il punto di applicazione. Io sono qui e per me gli alieni sono cattivi. Gli alieni non sono cattivi, sono alieni e basta. Fanno il loro interesse non comprendendo che il loro interesse va contro l'interesse della parte animica e della coscienza. Tutto lì. Noi questo, perché abbiamo più coscienza, invece lo abbiamo capito. Questo vuol dire che la vera rivoluzione culturale, il vero 2012, al di là del crollo della borsa di Tokyo, al di là del sole che esplode, al di là del pianeta Nibiru che ci casca sulla testa, la vera rivoluzione è una rivoluzione dentro di noi, culturale, dove noi abbiamo abbattuto il duale. Pensate, il duale è il sistema con cui il potere ti tiene sotto. Te puoi scegliere di votare a destra o a sinistra, è finto! Tu voterai sempre per gli industriali, che saranno quelli che comunque governeranno questo pianeta. Te puoi comprare la Fiat o l'Alfa Romeo, è finto, perché finirai sempre per comprare la General Motors, l'unica macchina che in realtà ha le azioni di tutte le altre macchine. Potrai sempre credere di decidere di essere fuori o dentro quella particolare convenzione, e non è vero, perché non c'è né un fuori né un dentro. Non ci sono i buoni e i cattivi. Non c'è la punizione e il premio, ma se non c'è questo, pensate a un mondo senza il dualismo, dove esiste la terza via, che è l'unica, quella dell'acquisizione della propria coscienza. È finito il potere cade quando è caduto il dualismo. Questa è secondo me la vera rivoluzione, e questo è anche il motivo del perché inconsciamente, ma forse non so fino a che punto, la gente poi non mi vuole sentir dire questi discorsi in televisione, né in Rai né a Mediaset.
The number of sightings of UFOs here on our planet, the number of people who claim that they've been abducted by aliens is now in their millions, and that is proved by statistical analysis done by Professor John Mack. And unfortunately John Mack was killed in an automobile accident in Britain, but he extrapolated from the interviews which he did that there's something like 9 million people on planet Earth that believe that they've been abducted by aliens. Yeah, there's more people nowadays that know about abductions than ever before, and it's been a big struggle to actually get the public fully informed about what's been going on. The elite themselves, and I'm talking about the real elite, I'm talking about the royal political elite, actually have their own flying saucer working party. That was convened at Buckingham Palace in 1957. The Buckingham Palace Flying Saucer Committee was convened by Sir Peter Horsley, who was a wing commander with the Royal Air Force, and he wrote a special report for the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. And really from that moment onwards, the royal political elite have been keeping tabs on exactly what's been going on with the UFO phenomenon. Now we know that this is an ongoing situation because if you go down to Wiltshire and Hampshire and Somerset in the south of England every summer, you can see very, very expensive military helicopters. These helicopters cost at least £1 million each. And these helicopters are flying in this kind of pattern, searching, searching, searching. They're not flying from A to B. These helicopters are top-notch military hardware, searching the fields like this. And where you have crop circles, those military helicopters are patrolling those crop circles at least once per day. That the military are monitoring the crop circles is because you can do an experiment yourself. You can make it just a simple circle in a crop if you want, and I can guarantee it, if you monitor that simple circle that you've made yourself in grass or in wheat or in corn, and you sit there and you monitor it carefully from a distance, you will see small spherical balls of light about this big, and they will swoop down and they will fly around that crop circle maybe a couple of times, and then they'll go off. These are probes, and they're exactly the same as the probes which we send into space. And what I think at the moment, I've made two feature-length documentaries, the Secret Space films. What I think from all the research that I've done in the last 11 or 12 years is that these orbs are collecting data from our planet, and they're dropped into the upper atmosphere in long membranes of flexible material. Now, as I've gone along and people have sent me more and more footage of these so-called space serpents, I realize now that they are groups of maybe 50, 60, 70, 80 or 100 of these orbs, all in some kind of flexible membrane that is flexing around rather like that the serpent is made from dissolves in our atmosphere, and as that material dissolves it releases all of these probes. And it's interesting because the first time that you see these probes come out and be expulsed from those kind of membranes, some of the orbs are blue, some of them are red, and some of them are white. And these are the small spheres which we see in the south of England, and what's happening is that those spheres then come down to ground level and they are making crop circles, and I'm talking about the actual, real, definitive, genuine crop circles. And they're using a symbolic language which is based on very ancient magic. And now that may sound very strange, but magic itself is a symbolic language, and one magician in, say for example, Egypt would be able to understand the magical symbols used by another magician in, say, Palestine or Britain. The Kabbalah has been split into two systems. You have the Christian version of the Kabbalah, and then you have the ancient Hebrew version of the Kabbalah, and the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, is like a roadmap into the spirit world. And there is a very, very strong link between occult magical teachings and the phenomenon of these orbs and UFOs, so-called UFOs. And that's what I've explored in my film Alien Kabbalah. Well, we're dealing with a complicated situation. You have real physical nuts and bolts probes being sent here from where they're obviously a physical phenomenon. Because we know they're physical because they're picked up on radar. On the other hand, we also have this situation where we know for sure that leading occultists who have been employed by the royal political elite, I'm talking about people like Aleister Crowley, who was employed as a part-time spy by MI5 and was the world's leading black magician, actually summoned a being into a hotel room at the beginning of the 20th century, and he did a sketch of this being, and it looks almost identical to a grey alien, and he called that being Lan. So we're dealing with a two-sided, very complicated phenomenon. And on one hand you have physical alien craft triggering radar systems, and on the other side you've got these non-physical spiritual entities which are misinterpreted as aliens or UFOs. Not only are they trying to be in contact with them, they're actually taking their orders from these beings. A series of manuscripts that were written in the 1500s by Dr. John Dee, who was an astrologer and a mathematician and a map maker and a spy. And he worked with a psychic magician called Edward Kelly. And if you go to the Science Museum and you go to the British Museum in London, you can actually see the documents, the paraphernalia, the tools which were used by Dr. John Dee to actually get into contact with beings which he described as angels. Now, these angels actually dictated a manifesto for world domination to Dr. John Dee, which he then presented this manifesto to Queen Elizabeth I. It looks to me, I mean, there's the old saying, judge people by their actions, not their words. We have large corporations such as British Petroleum and Royal Dutch Shell. Their most high-profile shareholders are members of the royal elite of Europe. And these corporations are responsible for poisoning the oceans, poisoning the sky, and poisoning the lands. And you know, you could say that quite possibly that this is part of an evil agenda that goes back to the 1500s. There is a military space shuttle that goes up and down and is never covered on the news.